The first quiet signal is so understated that most people experiencing it do not even notice it happening. You stop caring what brand is on your shirt, your watch, your car, or your phone case. Thomas Stanley, the researcher behind The Millionaire Next Door, spent over 20 years studying America's wealthy and found that the average millionaire spends less than $400 on a watch, drives a used vehicle, and has never paid more than $399 for a suit. His follow-up data showed that 86% of luxury vehicle drivers in the United States are not millionaires. Read that again. The Mercedes is usually leased. The Rolex is usually financed. Real wealth, statistically, drives a Toyota. Warren Buffett still lives in the same 5-bedroom house in Omaha that he bought in 1958 for $31,500. His current net worth is over $130 billion. Charlie Munger, before his passing in 2023, was famous for saying that the first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily, and every luxury purchase is an interruption. When you stop deriving identity from logos, something economically powerful happens. Your spending becomes invisible. Your savings rate climbs without willpower. And here is the part that hits hardest. The Federal Reserve's survey of consumer finances shows that households in the top 10% of net worth spend a smaller percentage of income on visible consumption than households in the middle 40%. Wealth is quiet because wealthy people stopped paying the tax of looking wealthy. But here is what nobody tells you. This shift is not about discipline. It is about a psychological transition called status detachment, and once it clicks, it cannot be reversed. You literally stop seeing the logos. The next signal is where it gets even more counterintuitive, because the second sign you are getting wealthy actually looks like you are getting poorer. Signal number 2, your lifestyle has not changed in 3 years, even though your income has. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks something called the marginal propensity to consume. For the average American, every additional dollar earned results in 97 cents spent. For self-made millionaires, that number drops below 50 cents. This is called lifestyle creep resistance, and it is the single greatest predictor of net worth across every income bracket. A 2022 Fidelity study tracking 401k millionaires found that the average person who crossed 7 figures in retirement accounts had increased their lifestyle spending by less than 12% over a 15-year period, while their income had more than doubled. Signal number 3, checking your investment accounts has become boring. Sounds strange, but it is real. Behavioral finance researchers at Vanguard analyzed millions of accounts and found that investors who logged in less than 4 times per year outperformed frequent checkers by an average of 2.3% annually. Compound that over 30 years on a $500 monthly contribution, and you are looking at a difference of over $340,000. Boredom with your portfolio is a feature, not a bug. It means you have moved from the gambling phase to the compounding phase. And now signal number 4, the one most people miss entirely. You start finding genuine enjoyment in delaying things you used to want immediately. This is not frugality. It is not deprivation. It is the dopamine restructuring that happens when you start seeing money as a tool instead of a reward. Stanford researcher Walter Mischel famously tracked children from the marshmallow experiment for over 40 years. The kids who waited for the second marshmallow earned, on average, significantly higher SAT scores, had lower body mass index, and reported higher life satisfaction as adults. But here is the part Mischel buried in his later work. The wealthy adults in the study described delayed gratification not as a sacrifice, but as a pleasure. Waiting felt good to them. When you start enjoying the act of not buying, the act of letting money sit, the act of watching a position build over years, you have crossed a threshold most people never cross. Your brain has rewired around the second marshmallow. And this is exactly why most lottery winners go broke within 7 years. They have the money, but they never develop the delay reflex. Their dopamine is still on the first marshmallow. But this is only half the story, because the next signal is not about behavior at all. It is about who starts showing up in your life and who quietly stops. Signal number 5, your conversations have changed. You notice it slowly. You used to talk about Netflix shows, sports, celebrity gossip. Now you find yourself in conversations about index funds, real estate cash flow, tax strategy, or business ideas. Jim Rohn's famous line, that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, has actually been validated by network science. A 2007 Harvard study published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that financial habits, like obesity, spread through social networks at a measurable rate. If a close contact dramatically improves their finances, your probability of improving yours goes up by 57%. Here is the practical step-by-step application. Audit your last 10 conversations. If fewer than two of them included a financial topic, you're still inside the consumer cluster. To shift networks deliberately, do three things. First, replace 1 hour of passive consumption per week with one financial book or podcast. Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money or the Acquired podcast are the highest leverage starting points in 2026. Second, attend one industry or investing meetup per month, even virtually. The Boggleheads Forum and local real estate investor associations are free. Third, and this is the one that hurts, reduce time with people who normalize financial stagnation. Not cut them off, just reduce. Network gravity is real. Signal number 6, your calendar has become more valuable than your wallet. You start saying no to free things that cost you time. The wealthy have done the math on something most people never calculate. If your effective hourly value is $100, then a 3-hour activity that saves you $20 is a net loss of $280. Buffett famously refuses to schedule meetings he does not need to take. Bill Gates structures his calendar in 5-minute blocks. Naval Ravikant, the founder of AngelList with a net worth over $300 million, has said publicly that his single greatest skill is the willingness to be unreachable. Now here is the answer to the second question I planted at the start. Why do dentists statistically have worse net worth than plumbers? Because dentists buy time-eating status, bigger houses, second properties, luxury cars, country club memberships, while plumbers on average own their business, control their schedule, and reinvest. The Federal Reserve's data on self-employed tradespeople shows their median net worth exceeds many professional service workers, including dentists, by significant margins once business equity is included. Income is not wealth. Equity plus time is wealth. Quick question before the final signal, drop it in the comments. When was the last time you said no to something free because the time cost was too high? I read these, and the answer reveals exactly which signal you are operating on. But the seventh signal is the rarest, and it is the one almost no one is ready to hear. Signal number 7, you have started thinking in decades, not in months. This is the final and most subtle transition. Most people think in pay periods. The middle class thinks in years. The wealthy think in decades. When Ronald Reed, a Vermont gas station attendant and janitor, died in 2014 at the age of 92, he left behind an $8 million estate. He had no inheritance. No high-income career. No business. He bought dividend-paying stocks, Procter & Gamble, J.P. Morgan, General Electric, and held them for 65 years. 65 years. His neighbors thought he was poor because he wore the same flannel jacket held together with safety pins. He was quietly one of the wealthiest people in his town. Compare that to Curtis Carroll, who has shared in interviews from inside San Quentin State Prison how he taught himself financial literacy and now teaches other inmates the same principles. His framework is built on one rule: save, live within your means, invest, own a business. The order matters. Most people skip the first two and crash on the third. Or take the case of Theodore Johnson, a UPS worker who never earned more than $14,000 a year in his peak. He died with $70 million in his estate, having quietly invested 20% of every paycheck and matched bonus into the company's stock plan over the course of his career. He did not pick stocks. He did not time markets. He just thought in decades. The pattern is identical across all three cases: quiet income, boring investments, decades of patience, zero status spending. These are not outliers. They are the actual statistical profile of the average self-made millionaire, according to Stanley and Danko's research, and confirmed by Ramsey Solutions' larger 2023 millionaire study. The richest people in the country, by and large, do not look the part. They never did. They thought longer than everyone else. And here is what makes Signal 7 so rare. Thinking in decades requires you to value a future version of yourself more than your present self. Most of human psychology is wired against this. The wealthy have either trained themselves out of it or were lucky enough to be raised by someone who already had. Either way, it is learnable. CTA 1213 Min. If even 2 of these 7 signals describe you right now, you are further along the wealth curve than you realize, and you are exactly the kind of person this channel exists for. Subscribe to WealthLogic and turn on notifications, because every week I break down the silent mechanics of wealth that most financial channels are too sensational to cover. No hype, no get-rich-quick, just the patterns the actual data reveals. Hitting that subscribe button costs you nothing and tells the algorithm to send more of this to people like you, which builds the kind of audience that actually changes its financial future. Outro 1315 Min. Here is the final thought I want you to walk away with. Wealth is not loud. It does not arrive in a package you can show off. It arrives quietly in the form of a savings account that stopped fluctuating, a portfolio that you forget to check, a calendar that you guard, and a network that is slowly elevated. By the time most people realize they have become wealthy, they have already been wealthy for years. The signals were there. They just did not look like wealth because real wealth never does. Your job starting today is not to chase a number. It is to install the behaviors that produce the signals. The number is downstream. The signals are upstream. Start there. One action before you close this video: pick the single signal from this list that is weakest in your life right now and commit to working on it for the next 90 days. Not all 7. 1. Compounding works on habits. 2. If this hit, my video on why high earners stay broke and how to permanently escape the paycheck-to-paycheck trap will make even more sense now. It is the perfect next step, and it explains the exact income threshold where most professionals get stuck. Watch it next. Your future self will thank you. Most people miss the early signals of wealth because real wealth is quiet. In this video, I break down 7 behavioral and financial signs you are already becoming wealthy, even if your bank account does not yet show it. Backed by data from Northwestern Mutual, the Federal Reserve, Vanguard, and Ramsey Solutions study of over 10,000 self-made millionaires, you will learn why signal number 4 is the one nearly everyone misses, and the single habit that statistically separates millionaires from high earners who stay broke. We cover real case studies: Ronald Reed, the $8 million janitor; Theodore Johnson, the UPS worker who retired with $70 million, and the actual networking and calendar habits used by Buffett, Munger, and Naval Ravikant. If you are working toward financial independence, passive income, or simply want to build wealth in 2026 without the hype, this is for you. Subscribe for weekly breakdowns of the silent mechanics of wealth. Timestamps: 0000, the signal high earners always miss 00. 30, what you will learn. 01, 00, signal 1. You stop caring about brand names. 03. 00, signal 2, 3, and the one nobody sees. 4, 06, 00, signals 5 and 6. Network and calendar shifts. 09, 00, signal 7, and the $8 million janitor. 12. 00, subscribe for the full series. 13. 00, the one habit to start today: wealth building, personal finance, financial freedom, investing, passive income.